Hi, thanks for being here. My name is Emily Love, and I have with me Chris Haber. Chris, do you want to say hi?
Hi, yeah, I'm as Emily said, I'm Chris. I'm one of the immigration advisors at ISS.
And I oversee programming and sort of student support for international students. That was just our land acknowledgement for the university. And just to build on that, we have a wonderful Indigenous Studies program here if people want to learn more. Also, we have a huge international student welcome reception on September 21st. And on September 22nd, there will be a powwow if your student wants to learn more about Indigenous culture, food, art, also as well on campus. Jonathan, before, as I start to share my slides, could I have you launch the poll? Because right now we're just going to give you guys a quick little poll because we want to know if your student is here in Montreal. And we're hoping they are.
Oh, well.
And fantastic, the vast majority is. So we'll share this. We'll share the results in just a second. Great. Oh, sorry. So what we're going to do today is we're going to present the this presentation as though your student is here in Montreal. For those who aren't here, you'll probably have questions for Chris, and he can assist you through the presentation when the questions come in. First of all, welcome. We're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're supporting your student. And throughout this presentation, we're going to give you more information on how to support your student and what they're kind of going through, and also how our office specifically can help you and your student throughout their time here at McGill. So what we're going to talk about, today is international student services, what your student is going to experience here over their time as they transition to Montreal, to Canada, to McGill. Your role as a parent, how you can help, information that will help you to help your student. Chris will discuss some immigration essentials. Then I'll go over the International Student Health Insurance Plan. This is very popular among parents. I was working at the parents' tent yesterday, and we had close to 200 questions about our International Student Health Insurance Plan. And then we'll talk about accessing healthcare here in Montreal on campus, off campus, and virtually, and a little bit about safety and how you can contact us. So what we do, we have, like Chris, we have a team of immigration advisors who are certified. That your student can have one-on-one immigration advising, whether by an appointment, through our web-based portal. We also have 5-minute rapid advising most Thursdays, which is a great way to just touch base with a quick question. We administer the International Student Health Insurance Plan. We also have a local wellness advisor for international students. We have lots of, we have counselors, we have psychiatrists, but we have specifically this local wellness advisor specifically for international students. One moment. Sorry. We also offer workshops and webinars throughout the year. Hopefully your student attended some of our pre-arrival orientation webinars, everything from immigration essentials, how to apply for those immigration documents, how to access healthcare in Canada. We also offer post-graduation work permit webinars, how to renew your immigration documents. And though our office does not advise on permanent residence, we do invite immigration officials from the Ministry of Immigration in Quebec and also IRCC, the federal body who oversees permanent residence. And it's a great way to ask questions specifically to those representatives. And then we offer sort of more fun, like less serious, more fun webinars like Winter 101, or we do lots of in-person events like pumpkin carving, decorating gingerbread houses, try a Montreal bagel, and lots of tours throughout Montreal. We also oversee the International Student Buddy Program and the First Friend Program, which your student was emailed about over the summer to either find a mentor or a first friend. In the fall, we oversee, it's called the BEST Conference. It's Building Employment Skills for Tomorrow for international students. It's a wonderful experience to network with international alum who are here in Montreal and how they navigated the job market. And there's employment workshops as well. And then, as I mentioned at the very beginning, we have our International Student Welcome Reception, which is attended by almost 1,000 new international students and our diplomat community. Usually we have about 40 different diplomats that come to this event, and it's catered, and there's music, and the principal comes. And so sort of on that note, as I'm talking about September, I want to talk about the new student experience, that your students going to experience some highs and some lows as their journey here progresses. And I first want to mention that we do have, especially in October, as you know, that the honeymoon of September is happening. They're meeting friends, they're getting used to living in Montreal, they're going to orientation, and they're starting new classes. It's exciting. And then there's kind of this low that comes out in October, which I'll talk about in a moment, where, you know, midterms are coming up and stress is kicking in, and it's like, I'm no longer at home. We do offer culture shock webinars and in-person programming as well. And that's where our local wellness advisor really is helpful to kind of deal with those emotions and those experiences. So as I mentioned, in September, if you're not hearing from your student, that's good news. Hopefully they're loving their time here. McGill is great. Montreal is so pretty in the fall, and so much is happening. They're going to activities night, they're meeting people. But then I mentioned in October, they might be feeling feelings of sort of rockiness. They might be feeling isolated because everyone's really up for meeting new people in September. And then in October, maybe people are feeling a bit more isolated and less, open to meeting new people. Their midterms are coming along. The days are getting shorter. It's getting colder. But then in November, hopefully they start navigating the peer supports that exist on campus. They might start getting involved with these clubs and on-campus organizations. And this is where you as a parent can help them look to our student services for support. So whether that is our local wellness advisor for international students, we have a wonderful counseling services, there's scholarships and student aid, there's tutoring services, there's the career center, and hopefully you're attending some more of these presentations throughout the weekend as well. So your role as a parent is to be supportive and reassuring to your new student, and to promote these student services. We offered a webinar in the summer. It was called Coming to McGill as Me, and it was a student panel. And one of the overwhelming sentiments is that you're on your own here at McGill. You have to find the supports. The student has to ask for help. The help doesn't just come to them. Though we do try to promote all of our services, you really need to encourage your student to ask for help, and then we're there for them. We are going to find ways to support your student. So Chris, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about some important immigration essentials. You're on mute, Chris.
There we go. Sorry about that. Thanks, Emily. So the good news is that most of the students appear to be here already in Montreal. So I'm assuming that they have all these documents. But I'll just go over the mandatory immigration requirements for international students. So in order for an international student to be authorized to study at McGill, they need to have obtained both of these documents prior to the start of their classes. And the first is the CAQ, which is short for the Quebec Acceptance Certificate. This is specific to Quebec, and it's required in order to obtain your study permit. So you need both the CAQ and your study permit. The study permit should have a remark on it that would allow the student to work on and or off campus. And both of these documents have to be submitted to Service Point or McGill Legal Documents as soon as they're received, so that McGill can have it on file for auditing purposes. And as you can see at the bottom, there's just a sample of what the CAQ looks like and what the study permit looks like. So the next slide. Oh. Okay, so one of the big questions we often get at ISS is if a student is authorized to be working while they're studying. And by and large, most students are. However, there are some conditions that must be met. So the first thing is they must have a valid study permit. And as I mentioned before, in order to get the study permit, they also have to have a CAQ. Students can only start working in Canada, or studying for that matter, at the official start date of their program. So the official beginning of the fall term is when they would be able to start working. And in order to be able to work on your study permit, so without having a separate work permit, the student has to be enrolled full-time. There has to be a remark on their study permit that says that they can accept on or off-campus employment. And the number of hours that a student can work, they can work as many hours as they want if it's an on-campus job. But if it's off campus, there's a maximum of 20 hours per week. And that 20 hours is really per week. So it doesn't mean you can do 10 hours one week, 30 hours another. It's every week. It's a maximum of 20 hours. And it's kind of an honor system. The students themselves are expected to kind of keep a log of how many hours they've been working in the event that they're ever asked about it. During regularly scheduled breaks in the program, so for example, a term or period between terms where students are not required to be registered for courses. So that would be the summer break, the break between the fall and winter terms, even reading week. These are considered regularly scheduled breaks for most undergraduates. And during these periods, a student can work full-time or as many hours as they want, both on and off campus. But there's a caveat: they have to have been enrolled full-time, so it means 12 credits. Okay, that's an important thing. Full-time at McGill means you're taking a minimum of 12 credits. And you have to be full-time in the term before, and you have to be resuming full-time studies after the break. The only exception to that would be, which will come later on in students' lives, but if it's their final term and they've always been full-time in every other term, they can be part-time after the break. But that's a little bit further ahead in the student life cycle. And then finally, a co-op work permit, which some students may need, is a specific work permit that allows students to do internship or a mandatory work component that's part of their program. And that can only be used for that specific work. So it's not a work permit that allows you to work anywhere. It allows you to do the work that would be a required part of your program, excuse me. And lastly, if students ever have a question, we try to send out emails reminding students of their obligations, of when they're allowed to work, when to renew their documents, etc. But students are always welcome to book an appointment to speak with one of our advisors if they have any questions. So I'll give it back to you, Emily.
Thanks, Chris. So I'm going to go a bit more in depth into the International Student Health Insurance Plan. So it is compulsory. Why is it mandatory? Well, it's part of the McGill Senate regulations, and it's an immigration requirement. So they're going to be charged $951 for the full year. Dental care is not included, but I will mention that, like, if they slip on the ice and they break a tooth, emergency dental care is included. It includes the basic and supplemental plan, which basically means they can go see a doctor and they can get prescription drugs as well. If there are any Canadian non-residents, we do have hundreds of Canadian students who've never lived in Canada who are coming back, and there's that 3-month wait while they're waiting for RAMQ, and then they can opt into our plan. And we've emailed most of those students with information about how to do this. If you choose to do this, you have to opt in before September 30th. So as I mentioned about dental coverage, we only cover emergency dental care. For regular dental care, there is for undergrads under the SSMU plan, and for graduate students under the PGSS dental plan, there's a supplemental plan through student care. So you would have to go to the student care website for more information about regular cleanings. And again, this is separate from the IHI plan. For more questions about the IHI plan, you can go to our website and you can read our 23-page benefits handbook to see exactly what is covered. But I'm going to go a bit more into depth right now. I mentioned that our plan is compulsory. However, there are a few exemptions. So some students are eligible to be exempt from our plan and covered by RAMQ. This includes students who are from countries with a government exchange sort of contract, if you will. Those include residents from these countries listed here on this page. And if that is you, you probably received information already, but you can also ask questions at the end. But if you do opt out of our plan and you are going to apply for the RAMQ for your student, they must provide us proof before September 30th. We have a lot of American students and international students who have great private health insurance plans, but unfortunately that is not a reason to be able to be exempt from our plan. As I mentioned, it is obligatory based on immigration and through the University Senate regulations. So what is covered? Again, you can read our 23-page benefits handbook, but to give you an overview, if your student has to go to the ER, it's 100% covered. About going to our ER, I will be frank that all of Canada is experiencing a doctor shortage. The ER system here does triage people. So if your student has a seizure or they break a leg, they're going to get in very quickly. But if they have an ear infection, they could wait 10 or 12 hours. So it's always best to also try to go to a walk-in clinic or to the campus clinic when possible. It includes physician fees, diagnostic tests, prescription medication, maternity coverage, as I mentioned, accidental dental care, medical evacuation, hopefully that doesn't happen, and vision care, but it excludes glasses and contact lenses, so that it includes eye exams, for instance. For exchange students, if you are in an exchange, in a different country or on an internship in Canada, you can submit the online form for extended coverage, and these forms are found on our website under health insurance and coverage, unless you're going back to your own country of origin. For leisure, you're covered up to 4 weeks for a trip for any medical emergencies and hospitalization. But if you're going to your own home country, it's very limited coverage. That it only includes hospitalization for up to a maximum of $2,000 a day. So if you have health insurance in your home country and your student is going to come back over the summer, it's a good idea to keep them on your health insurance plan for when they come home. We've also emailed your student 1, 2, or 3 times to ask them to activate their international student health insurance plan. And they have to be inside Canada if they want to activate their travel coverage. So here's some important information about activating their coverage on Minerva. They must activate their coverage on Minerva. We sent up to 3 emails so far reminding students to do that. They'll need to view SAFE, and they can self-print their health insurance card through Minerva. And then once they do that, then they can sign up for Medavie Blue Cross apps or the online portal, and they can sign up for virtual care, specifically Maple, which I'll talk about in a moment. I wish our plan included Maple. Only international students get Maple. So in terms of accessing healthcare on and off campus, let's talk about that. So McGill has a wonderful health and wellness service here on campus. It's in the Brown building, which is right on McTavish Street, which hugs the university campus, and the building is brown. Care is available for mild to moderate short-term physical and mental health conditions. So we have doctors, nurses, dietitians, counselors, psychiatrists, the local wellness advisors as well, as long as your student is paying student services fees and has our international student health insurance. And also if students have RAMQ, if if they're from one of those countries or they have an exemption, then those students also can access the health and wellness services as well. And you can also access care through your faculty. So I mentioned we have a local wellness advisor for international students, but all of the faculties have wellness advisors as well, and so does the residence halls as well. These are wonderful resources if your student is just wanting to talk to someone or having a bit of a hard time. So in order to access the Wellness Hub, here's their phone number. They're open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4. They do have same-day appointments, but you must call right at 8:30. They also have an email, and here's their the QR code that will take you directly to their page. And yes, this is being recorded, so all of the information will be shared afterwards. We do hear from students that it is hard to get appointments, but as I said, across Canada, we're dealing with practitioner shortages, and so it does require some patience when calling to try to get same-day appointments. But I think in a few slides, I'm also going to talk about off-campus care as well. So some important phone numbers to know. Let me just see. 911 is the phone number here in North America for calling for an ambulance or emergency. Info Santé is 811, where you can ask a nurse or a social worker what they advise, whether you should go to the ER. This is a wonderful resource when COVID was in full swing, because people weren't just rushing to the ER. So they could call 811 and ask a nurse for advice. We have a Suicide Action Montreal phone number. And also, as I mentioned before, your student is, entitled or has access to emergency inpatient and outpatient care with their health insurance card here in Montreal through the IHI plan. So in terms of off-campus clinics, as I mentioned, the on-campus clinics, they're very busy. So if you go to an off-campus clinic, students will be paying the fee up front, and then they'll submit the claim for reimbursement afterwards. So as you just saw in the previous slide, our on-campus clinic is only open Monday through Friday. So if your student gets sick on a Saturday morning, then they would go to an off-campus clinic. So McGill also has, as I mentioned before, I wish I had Maple. International students have access to wonderful virtual care resources during their time here at McGill. Maple, you can register, your student can register in just minutes. They can connect with a provider 24/7. What's fantastic about this is that a number of international students may already have prescriptions in their home countries. And unfortunately, our pharmacies will not accept a prescription from a non-Canadian doctor. So instead of waiting for an appointment here in person, they can register through Maple and they can get their prescriptions renewed by a Canadian doctor here online. And that is a terrific resource for students who are just transitioning to Montreal. Dialogue is similar to Maple. It's available through student care. All students have access to Dialogue. So if there's any issues with Maple, they have Dialogue as well. Keep Me Safe is a fantastic mental health resource. It's a counseling service also available 24/7 every day of the year, and it's available in over 60 languages. It's free for McGill students. It's independent of our IHI plan, but we really want you to know that this is available, and they can simply download the app. And more information, if you don't have this QR code right now, you don't have your phone near you, it's all available on the IHI website, on our International Student Services website. And finally, I want to mention safety. Montreal is a very safe city for students. I would avoid walking alone late at night. Granted, I sure did. Chris and I were both students in undergrad, and I also did my grad here. I definitely walked home alone a lot in the middle of the night. But what I love about Montreal, it's well lit. people are late night people here. There's always people in the streets, especially downtown. But there's walk safe and there's drive safe. So if students don't feel safe, they can call and a McGill student will come and meet them, whether through walk safe or drive safe. You know, if it's minus 30 out, drive safe is quite popular in the winter. And finally, I want to wrap up and give you some important contacts. There's the Office for the Dean of Students, and you can reach them by email and by phone. There's campus security, and also us, International Student Services. Here's our phone number. And on our website, there's multiple ways to reach out to us, whether if you have immigration questions, you can reach out to us through our My ISS portal. You can call us. We have emails for the International Student Health Insurance Plan, for events and programming and Buddy. And we would be delighted to take your questions. So I think that's the wrap of our presentation. So at this point, I think I see we have questions in the chat and we also have questions in the Q&A. So I guess, Chris, I'll start. And once we hit an immigration question, I'll let you take over, okay?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, so starting with the Q&A, I see, let's see, some of these are answered. When is the International Diplomat meeting? That is on September 21st, and we will be sending all new international students an invite to their email in September. From Alexandra, I see, is the RAMQ coverage equivalent to IHI coverage? Well, so RAMQ, let me say this. IHI is comprehensive. It includes the supplement and the basic RAMQ plan. So if you are to switch, say, to RAMQ, you'll want to make sure that you have the SSMU or PGSS supplement plan, which includes, say, medication and dental as well. So the supplement and the RAMQ equals the IHI plan, generally speaking. Does insurance cover up to a 12-month period or only for the 2 university semesters? It includes 12 months. And for new students, it started there were 2 complimentary free weeks as of August 15th. So we know that students come here before September 1st. So students are covered from now until August 30th next year. And Craig, who's in the background, he'll be sharing the presentation, I believe, afterwards. With RAMQ coverage, do we have to pay medical expenses in advance and be refunded? No, what's beautiful about RAMQ, I was in the States for 10 years and I love coming back and I have my RAMQ card and I give it to the hospital or to the clinic and that's it. There's no deductibles, there's no co-pays. You just give them your card. That is one beautiful thing that I love about being back in Canada and Canadian healthcare. Okay. What is the social insurance number and how do we get this, please? So there are multiple ways to get the social insurance number. Your student can go to a Service Canada location and wait 3 hours. They can apply online, or if they check their September 1st newsletter from International Student Services, which they will receive automatically by virtue of being an international student, they will find out about our social insurance clinic that will be on campus. Service Canada is coming to campus in mid-September for 2 days, and they will be issuing students SIN numbers, and they can sign up for a spot and come at 10:30 and get their card or their number at 10:30. It's a beautiful service that we offer, so have them check their September newsletter from us. Chris, here's one. I realized that I missed the study permit. What should I do? Thanks.
Yeah, and that's, sorry, I had answered partially that question before in the chat, but basically, Jean, I would suggest that you book an appointment or have the student book an appointment, because if you didn't get the study permit at the border when you entered, because you didn't present the approval letter or they didn't ask for it, you'll have to go back to the border in order to get it. So you might want to book an appointment to speak to an advisor about that.
Thank you. I have a number of direct messages, so I'm going to go through these. One is the ELWA, the person to go to. All of their information is online, so your student can book an appointment with the local wellness advisor through the LWA page? That's a great question. If you have any more questions that maybe I didn't quite answer, I'm going to put in my email at the end, okay? Or Chris, you can put it in the events email. What are the hours for walk safe and drive safe? Great question. Perhaps I will, or Craig, if you want to look that up and put the link in, that would be a help. When signing up for Maple, should I use my personal email or my school email? I would definitely use your school email. Keep everything McGill within McGill. And on that note, students are expected to be on their McGill email for all McGill related communications starting now. Drive safe, you can literally just Google McGill drive safe, McGill walk safe. But again, I'll try to put up that link at the end. I see a question about Canadian cell phones. So if your student is here for 4 years, I would strongly encourage getting a Canadian cell phone, because if your friends have to call you or your student, they don't want to be calling an international number. It's just, and it's also easier, I think, maybe for roaming purposes. But if you have a great plan and it's a foreign plan, that's fine. I just think it's easier to have a Canadian cell phone while one is in Canada. Excuse me. And there are lots of cell phone providers out there, and lots of them are available on St. Catherine Street, which is sort of the main like shopping area, just south, about 2 or 3 blocks south of campus. What are a couple of walk-in clinics near campus? Great question. And on the McGill Wellness Hub, they have a wonderful map. They map out all of the nearby walk-in clinics. So that's another great thing to check out. Can you discuss banking? TD Bank in New York is not connected with TD in Montreal, which we did not know when we set up an account in New York last week. Interestingly, Marilyn, I actually, when I moved from New York back to Montreal, I did use the TD cross-border banking. So I know they do have it. And I believe some of the other banks also have cross-border banking, but TD should, so I would give them a call. And they're also available right now at the Parents Tent, and it's open till 2 p.m. Eastern time. So if your student is here in Montreal, I would tell them to go check out Parents Tent today. Liza, I think I already answered the question about the social insurance number, but to be more specific, students will need a social insurance number if they're going to be working in Canada. That is how you get paid. You cannot get paid for a job without a social insurance number. But if your student is not going to work in Canada, they do not need a social insurance number. Where do students get RAMQ cards? They can apply on the RAMQ website. It used to be that you could walk into the RAMQ offices, but that has changed since the pandemic. So I would encourage you to go to the RAMQ website. Chris, did you answer the question about the co-op engineering student?
No, I didn't. I didn't see that question.
Okay, I'll just read it out loud. My son is a co-op engineer student. His work placement might be abroad for Linder longer than the 4-week limit. Is there an exemption for those foreign placements?
That's a good question. So if the work placement is not going to be in Canada, then of course there's no Canadian law that would apply. You could do the work in a foreign country as long as you're meeting whatever legal requirements there are for that particular country. But for those questions, I would suggest that you talk to the Faculty of Engineering to make sure that it's approved, and that they can ensure that that doing that work placement outside of Canada would still be considered part of the program. Usually it is, but I know that you have to. There's discussions that need to be done with the faculty. But from an immigration perspective, you wouldn't need a co-op to be able to do that work because you're not inside Canada. Although you could still get your co-op when you apply for your study permit if you wanted to.
Thank you. I see a question about how long it takes to get the SIN number to open a bank account. Some new employees at the banks will tell you that the student needs a SIN number to open a bank account, but they don't. It's not mandatory to open a bank account. But again, if they come to the clinic here, they can get a SIN number at the time that they get their appointment. So if they sign up for 10:30, they're going to get a SIN number by 10:40. Can people who are only citizens and not residents access RAMQ plan? I'm not sure I understand that question, but only people from the countries listed on that slide can access RAMQ, and Canadian citizens. Thank you, Craig, for the WalkSafe information. Craig, I'm also going to ask if you could put in the RAMQ website link as well. And RAMQ is separate from McGill. RAMQ is the Régie Assurance Médicale du Québec. It is a government office and it is not affiliated with McGill. Okay, so I've gone through the chat questions and I believe we have some more in the Q&A. Let's see. If you have French coverage and are exempt from the mandatory IHI, can you still have access to Maple and the local McGill clinic? Yes, you would have access to the local McGill clinic. No, you would not have access to Maple. However, with RAMQ and the student care plan, with the supplemental plan, that covers dialogue, and dialogue is quite similar to Maple. So you would want to potentially, before you opt out, just to look at the differences between between Maple and Dialogue. And again, all of that information is on the IHI website through ISS. Let's see. If student leaves the country for 2 months to go home during the summer and has no other insurance at home, should they take on another insurance? Yes, that would be advisable because again, the IHI plan really only covers emergencies. So if you have an ear infection, it's not going to cover that, for instance. You have to be, I believe, an inpatient in the hospital in order to activate the IHI plan in your home country, for instance. That's a great question. And if you are in that situation and it is time to go home for the summer, you can always also email our international student health insurance team for more specific questions. And also you can find more information on our website. For the questions about RAMQ, I'm going to have you visit the RAMQ website because the documents may vary based on what country you are from. Can a student have advice to find a room to rent? Great question. We have a McGill Student Housing Office, and they also have an off-campus student housing team as well that can help advise. Okay. Is RAMQ free if you fill in the criteria? Yes, RAMQ is free. Is a foreign full-time student in an undergraduate program for 4 years considered a resident of Canada? No. For more information about that, you can reach out to Service Point. They are the home of the legal documents team, and unless you have Canadian citizenship, or there's very few exceptions, but generally speaking, if you're an international student and you're coming here to study in Canada, no, you're not considered a resident in Canada. Chris, I'm correct there, right?
Yeah, you're correct. Again, I'm not sure of all the specifics. I know if you're a Canadian citizen but haven't lived in Canada after a certain period of time, I believe you can claim Quebec as your resident province, but I'm not sure. It's better to reach out to Service Point for those types of questions. Yeah.
Yeah. And Service Point opens up Monday morning at 9 a.m. What are the required documents to open a bank account in Canada? You need 2 pieces of ID, and that can include a passport, the study permit, a housing contract, and you can also go to the various bank websites to find out more information. Or again, if your student is here on campus, we have various bank representatives who are at the parents' tent, which is on the lower field. And it's a great way to talk to the banks themselves on campus to find out more information about banking. So let's see, I think I have another one or two more questions. I see the insurance that we pay for as part of the tuition and fees is only for emergencies. No, I think I might have maybe people have convoluted some of the information I gave, or there's different situations for different students. So if you are on the International Student Health Insurance Plan, it is a comprehensive plan that covers medical, doctors, prescriptions, mental health. If you are from one of the exempt countries, or you meet one of the very few exempt situations, then those students would apply for the government healthcare plan, RAMQ, through the Régie Assurance Médicale du Québec, and the Student Care Supplement Plan. Thank you, Craig. And that equals the IHI plan. Again, the IHI plan is very comprehensive while the student is in Canada, but it is not very comprehensive when the student is traveling to their home country. I hope that helps to clarify. All of our information is on our website, which I'm going to try to pull up right now, or maybe Craig, I can have, oh, good, you understood. Thank you. Craig, can I have you just also put in the link to the IHI homepage, ISS McGill IHI, and that will give all of the information. If you click on benefits, you can read our 23 page benefits handbook. And we have a wonderful international student health insurance team that answers many questions from students when they have questions or concerns about what is covered. So it looks like we're wrapping up. I'm also going to put in the chat my email. One moment. This goes directly to me. One sec. Okay, so for anyone who has any specific questions, you can email me at events. Also, I'm going to put in the health insurance contact. Hold on. I see an immigration question coming in. My daughter only got study permit for 2 years as her passport expires in 2 years. Is it easy to renew the study permit at the time she'll renew her passport?
Yeah, and that's, that happens pretty often. Not everyone has their passport valid for the entire duration of their studies. The CAQ should have been issued for the full 4 years. I'm assuming it was. You wouldn't need to renew that. But yeah, renewing the study permit from inside Canada is it's a fairly simple process. I would recommend renewing your passport first because you'll need it to apply for the new study permit. But yes, it is fairly easy to renew the study permit, and we also have a webinar on renewing immigration documents, which your daughter would be able to attend and get more information when in 2 years' time or a year and a half, let's say.
Okay. I guess, let's see, we still have some time for more questions. I will also just say, again, that Chris and I were both students here at McGill. I love my experience here. I know we've talked a lot about health and some on immigration, but it's just a fantastic community to be a part of. There's so much going on this week and next week with Frosh and orientation. Your students going to meet so many people in the coming weeks. Classes are going to start. McGill is beautiful in the fall. Even winter is stunning. I do hope that you parents will have an opportunity to come to Montreal at some point. Take your kid out to such wonderful restaurants. We have one of the biggest foodie per capita percentages in the world. There's such great neighborhoods to explore. Montreal is really compact. It's very walkable. And yeah, world-class professors and facilities here on campus. I loved it so much. I did my grad and then I came back to work. Chris, do you have any final thoughts you want to share as well?
Yeah, again, I was a McGill student a long time ago now, but I was a McGill student. I'm a Montreal, born and raised in Montreal, so it's a great city. I'm sure you'll all enjoy your time here. And when it comes to immigration, if you ever have questions or you're unsure about anything, we have a great team at ISS of advisors who are more than willing to help out. So don't be shy to send a question or to book an appointment.
I do see another question here. And where and when should we submit the documents like study permit and the grades in high school to the university? Right away, once your student is here and has their CAQ and their study permit, you're going to upload those legal documents to the legal documents team. Let me see, I can just find the website for that right now. If not, they're going to email your student and going to say, hey, submit your legal documents, and we'll have many opportunities to follow up. Hold on, I'm just copying that. I'm going to put this in the chat. So, yeah, just make so when I was at the parents' tent yesterday, the parents said, what do I need to know? And we're like, do you have your CAQ and your study permit? Great. Email those to legal documents. Activate your health insurance plan through Minerva, and then you are set to have a great time at McGill. Easy peasy. You did the hard part. So again, I think my final link I'm going to put in here is the link to our contact page. So just give me one moment. I'm going to put that in. And then any questions, you can reach out to us and we will be all too glad to answer your questions. Oh, I did see a question about locating walk-in clinics. I'll put in the link to that in just a sec. Because I think that question was asked a few times. Here is the link. Oops, sorry, one moment. Accessing on and off campus care. Okay. So, Craig from University Advancement, do you have any final words that you'd like to share? If you're here. If not, nope. Okay, great. So thank you all for being here. And we wish your student a great time. If you are a student, we wish you a fantastic beginning of the year. Keep in touch if you have any questions. It was a pleasure taking your questions and chatting with people. Have a great day, evening, and night. Chris, thanks for joining as well.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye.